Hello, everybody. This is Hondo Carpenter. Welcome inside the Las Vegas Raiders Intermountain Healthcare Performance Center, where day one of mandatory minicamp is over. I got a lot of observations from camp. Before we get into the observations, though, I think it's important to establish a caveat. If your offense this time of year does not look better than your defense, then your offense completely sucks because there are no pads. And so what happens is quarterbacks, even after when they would have been sacked and the whistle gets blown, they step up, they throw passes, all of that kind of stuff. So your offense is supposed to look better than your defense this time of year. The second thing is there's absolutely no pads. So it's just the first couple of steps for linemen. However, some areas that do carry a lot of relevance are in install when you're getting final stuff in, getting ready for training camp. There's some bedrock formations and things you want to learn. In camp, they'll get more of the nuances of it. Um, but the other thing is that with there being no pads, the defensive backs, the linebackers, and their pass coverage is big, very big, because those guys are staying on the up, right, allegedly, and they want to use a lot of their hands, and they're going to use their bodies and more so than where the linemen get to. So you can put a little bit more stock in that. Now, before we get going, I need to make something very clear. I'm a member of the Pro Football Writers Association, and we have incredible access being part of that. I do not work for the team. It's not my job to be a cheerleader for the team. Quite frankly, it's unprofessional to do that. But I will absolutely report to you. But there are some things for that access that the NFL, excuse me, that the Pro Football Writers Association um, things that we don't discuss. So anything that's specific to the team, such as formations or anything that could hurt the Raiders for obvious reasons, I don't report that and won't. So if you're wondering, well, what does third down sets look like? I'm not going to discuss that. I get to see it. I'll certainly comment if I think it's progressing and how things are going, but I will not in any way, shape, or form give you access to proprietary information that could help. I remember one time before a very big game, Jimmy Johnson and other teams read all of the coverage of every team. They say they don't, and I'm telling you they do because I have friends who get paid to do it. Um, and that's 100% accurate. And but they watch that and look for people who try to get on the edge. Oh, this person gave me some cutting information. Okay, they may have hurt the team. And as a fan, you shouldn't appreciate anybody doing that, no matter what the team is you root for. There were several players that stood out to me today. And obviously, with no pads, I will give you the context in which they stood out. I don't know that anybody had a bigger day to day than Sincere McCormack. In my opinion, he is absolutely, if he continues to perform the way he is now with pads on, I think he has a very good shot at not only being the solid third guy, I think he's got a shot to possibly even challenge Mostert. Nobody's challenging Ashton, period. And it happening. And we'll talk a lot about that in a minute. But Sincere today in his pass routes, um, there was one particular move where he just left a defender just looking silly. Crisp route running. Now, again, no pads. So I'm going to give you an example of something he did on a run that was extremely impressive with no pads. He gets the ball, he gets into space, and the defensive player, the defensive linebacker, goes in to touch him, and he just boom punches his hand right, and the guy's hand went flying. I don't think he was ready for Sincere to be down to business like that. I don't think he was expecting it. I don't think he was anticipating it. And I'm going to tell you something. If you go back and watch the podcast from last year, going into training camp, I was talking about Sincere was a guy in the bubble because he just hadn't done anything. And when he got the chance last year, he shined prior to his injury. It has been different this offseason for the first time since he's been here. He's popping in the offseason. And you may say, well, you're watching for him more. No, I watch all of practice and I watch the players who pop. And Sincere had never had, he popped today. He ran like he was angry at the field, angry at the defense, angry at the football, angry at the world. Now, if you knew him, he is just a wonderful kid. And so when I say running angry, I mean, he looked like I'm out to send a message. Last year, prior to the injury, wasn't an accident. You didn't need Mostert. And it's not a slam on Raheem at all, but it's just a statement of every single time I kept seeing something. And I'm like, wow, all right, that's sincere. Wow, that's sincere. And so he had a very, very good day today. Now he's running with the twos because he ain't gonna. When you say he had a good day, he had a great day for Sincere McCormack, but he ain't Ashton Ginty. That kid already has superstar written all over him. Um, there was a defender coming at him full speed, obviously no pads, not going to tackle, and he just did a sidestep where he looked like Fred Astaire. Google him. He looked like Fred Astaire and just boom, gone. He put his foot in the ground, and I I was stunned at. I'd never seen him do kind of like a jump cut like that with that speed. And I've watched all of his film. I've seen him do them and look really good. He looked elite. It just gone. And I was standing next to someone and I mentioned, did you just see that? And they're like, uh-huh. But Ashton Genty, there's a saying the kids use. He is him, Ashton Genty. Now, let's keep going here. I want to talk about a couple of more guys that I thought were very impressive. Dante Thornton, the wide receiver. Um, I I have high expectations for him. Okay, I think he's the third or fourth wide receiver, three or four. He's going to be battling Trey Tucker. Right now, he's four and should be, but I think he's got a shot at pushing Trey. And everybody knows I like Trey. It's not a personal thing, but he just shows up and he shows up on the field. They were doing some running plays and mixing it up, and he burst off the line. And my first thought is he's the number one on this play. And so I'm following him. All of a sudden, I hear the whistle, and I look, and it was a running play, but he ran it like it was. No defender could have bought that it was a run play. And to see a young guy with that type of commitment to being a part of the team, getting his hands on the defender to block, and he just used his speed to take the defender right out of it. Some guys that don't have that speed have to start blocking right away. And I know of safeties that if they see a receiver start blocking, begin moving up to make a tackle. With Thornton, he doesn't give it away. And that was super impressive. But I just thought his hands were impressive. He had some couple of really good catches today. Um, there were no massive drops, but he just did some things. And there were a couple of times he left some defenders sitting up, wondering where'd my guy go. Jeremy Chin, phenomenal. Everybody knows how highly I respected Trayvon Merrick, and the Raiders made the right decision when he got the money that he got to let him go. And I have said multiple times, if I was Spytech, I would not want to have lost Trayvon. But if I knew I could get Chin in a swap, okay. I was stunned. In fact, I said this to a couple of the Raiders employees. I was stunned at how vocal Chin was. Now, uh, significantly more vocal than Merrick ever was. He was out there barking orders, moving guys around. I'll tell you who he reminded me of, just style of leadership, was Spills. He played like Robert Spillane. Um, he made a couple of just unbelievable plays. He was step for step with wide receivers 45 yards down the field making plays, and step for step in one-on-one coverage. Now, on one in particular, I think the corner may have made a wrong move, but it didn't matter. Chin was there and made the play. He looked the part. I'm going to say this right now, and this is probably going to surprise you, but I would not be shocked if he's a captain. His leadership was outstanding, absolutely outstanding, phenomenally outstanding today. He is everything I thought he was and better. Now, I got to say it with pads, but we've already seen it with pads with him, so it's not like a rookie. Um, Another guy I want to talk about, and is a guy you've heard me talk a lot about already, is Kadir Ismail. This is a guy on the outside looking in. I think the Raiders are going to carry 3 tight ends. I think if the season started today, it's going to be obviously Brock, Michael, and Ian Thomas. That was another young man that looked good today. Ian Thomas, he did some nice things. Did he pop? Like, wow? No, but he was just steady Eddie productive. I was very impressed with Ian Thomas, but I also was Kadir Ismail. Kadir Ismail looks like it. I mean, he is big, fast. He looks the part. That Kadir Ismail, Ian Thomas battle, I'm going to be watching it close tomorrow. And I'll be watching that in training camp. That's going to be a really, really nice battle there. Another guy that I should have talked about early was Sincere. Um, I think Sincere had the best day for offensive guys trying to make a statement. Um, Gino Smith was phenomenal. The ball just effortlessly comes off his fingertips. There was a drill, and all 4 quarterbacks were throwing and rotating. So every play they're throwing to a different spot. And because it's not something that happened in the game, obviously you don't have 4 quarterbacks and 4 footballs. I don't mind talking about it. And the other quarterbacks were okay throwing to a particular part of the field. And not great, but okay. Some better than others, but we'll leave it there. And Gino gets up and just threads the needle. His ball comes out of his hand with so little effort, just wham. And what I like about Gino, and I'm going to get to this person that I need to get to in a minute, but what I really like about Gino, a couple of things in particular, is he his release. I've always thought he didn't necessarily have the fastest release. There was a couple drills today where, I mean, it was like a slingshot. I was impressed with that. And I'm going to talk to him. Probably going to wait till training camp. If that's something he's just tried to improve, or was it maybe overlooked in his game? But he had a slingshot today. But he knows when to put the touch in and when to throw the guys open. He knows when to put the extra spice on the ball because he's close to the boundary line, so he can't really lead them. And then he knows when to put it where nobody can get it but his guy and throw him open. It's fun watching Gino. I will tell you, in the 6 years that I have watched the Raiders and covered this team, and this is no disrespect to anybody, though everyone's going to take it that way, it's the best quarterbacking I've seen in off-season drills, which is surprising because there really shouldn't be that big of a difference. And I can tell you the other 3 Raider quarterbacks compared to everybody else I've seen, they all look the same. Gino he got a little something in him, and he was fun to watch. Okay, Malcolm Coons, defensive. I mean, I watched him a long time, and it was hot. It was probably 110, 109. Uh, I was watching him intently. I probably watched him 40 minutes, maybe 35, but somewhere in that neighborhood. Um, Pushing off the knees, the ankles with reckless abandon. He is playing like sincere. He is pissed at the world. And you have to understand, like sincere, wonderful kid. And everybody knows I'm not on the train. I'm driving the Malcolm train. Choo choo. I like guys that believe in themselves. Raider Nation, you should love this kid. He bet on himself, not because he's arrogant, but he trusts his work ethic. And he bet on you. He could have went other places and got more money. He wanted to be here. Um, he was playing like a beast. You cannot even tell there was an injury. He was not being gentle to himself. He was playing hard, getting coached hard. He dipped his shoulder on one drill. And I remember my first thought was, oh, that wasn't very smart coming off his injury. And he just, it was effortless. It was effortless. And it was everything we saw from him at the end of 23 and everything we saw all off season and training camp in 24. I'm going to say this. I have not seen pads, so I reserve the right. But even without pads, you can tell when guys are maybe a little uncomfortable with their injury. I don't want to hurt it again. They're playing cautious. Not Malcolm. He is playing mad at the tackling dummies, mad at the blocking sleds, mad at whoever is playing and lining up against him. Malcolm Coons looks like he's physically back. Now, we're going to find out a lot more with pads because to miss a year is difficult. And he's going to have to get his pad playing back. But to use a Vegas term, since we're here in Vegas, man, he moved all his chips into the middle of the table and said, Kumbaya, I believe in me. And he looked great. It was great. I was so happy for the young man. And if you knew him, you'd love him. He's a great kid, just a great kid. Forget football player. He's just a great kid. But he was fantastic. Um, I want to talk about um, Charles Snowden today. Many of you know I like him. I projected him to make the 53-man roster. I think he's in a battle. I don't think he's a lock, and I don't think he's as close to a lock as you can get. He's in a battle. I think he's going to win it, and nothing has, as of yet, changed my mind there. But I saw something from him that I really liked today. Now, I like him, and I know anybody that has a past, everyone likes to throw it in their faces for mistakes. And that's just ignorant. That's just not me. Because you know what? I got things in my life I've done and I regret and I feel stupid about. And if you never have, well, then I'm sorry, you're perfect. But for the rest of humanity, the other 99.9% of us, show some people some grace. But what I liked about Snowden today was there was a drill and he made a mistake and he was angry. I mean, he was angry at himself. Now, I'm going to give you a little bit of insight on why that sticks out with me. Tom Izzo, the Hall of Fame basketball coach for Michigan State, happens to be a great friend of mine, and I love Tom. And one day we were sitting in his basement and we were watching a football game and we were just talking sports. And I brought up there was a player on the field who was really emotional. And I brought up, well, that's not a good look. And he goes, are you kidding me? Now, if you ever watch Michigan State basketball, it's not uncommon for Spartan basketball players to get very vocal and emotional. Tom Izzo loves that. And I'll never forget him teaching me why he loved it. He said, those are the kids that care. He goes, I can't stand the kid that makes a mistake and goes, my bad. What is your bad? And it should make you mad because you just let your teammates down. And I'm telling you, I have never seen a lackadaisical attitude from Snowden, so please don't hear that implication because that would not be accurate. But today it was the first time I have seen him angry. And he jumped back in and he wanted more reps because he knows he's competing and he knows this organization stood by him and he takes that personal. I thought that was a really good sign. I thought it was a great sign. I'm going to tell you, it was um, interesting. I've told you about Andre Carter. I think he's a guy competing uh, with Snowden. Um, and I like some things he did. A couple times I noticed his pad level was a little high. Has to get his pads down a little bit. But I like him, and I think he is going to compete with Snowden for that defensive end job. I still think Snowden has the edge, which is what I thought coming into minicamp, but I still think it's going to be really, really close. That was really interesting today. I got to watch Carter quite a bit. Um, Elandon Roberts and Devin White, the starting linebackers, they looked like it today. They looked like it. And Landon barking like spills. But I'll tell you what I really liked is the way they worked together, the way Devin moved. I know he's a guy a little bit, he was a great player for a long time, a little bit of a journeyman. He looks healthy and he was moving smooth. He was looking like Devin from a few years ago today. Very smooth. In fact, I watched him in one area that I noticed him moving better than he did last year because I went back and watched some last year's film, was watching him move laterally. That was impressive to me. That tells me he's not the player he's been the last year or so. He was moving laterally, and it was really cool at one point watching him and Landon communicate with no words. Now, I don't believe there were words. The music was loud, and it was just a point and move. I wasn't standing there on the line of scrimmage, so there could have been, but I don't believe there were words. And just watching them move. And here's what I like. Last year, you saw you saw Spills putting guys in the right spot. And you didn't really see a lot of that with Divine. You saw that with Devin today. You saw both linebackers directing. Then you got Chin and Max. I'm going to get to Max in a minute. I'm going to tell you another guy who impressed me today, Jalen Smith, the linebacker out of Notre Dame. I was impressed with him. In fact, I'm going to pull something up if you'll bear with me for a second here. I want to talk about him. He's the linebacker, and I liked his vision. So he's turning, and I can't. So he's turning, and he has his right foot back, and he's moving backward. He flipped his hips and went right to the left, made a big play. Then I saw another play where he flipped his hips to the other side. One play in particular, he made a pre-snap read, and I noticed him moving pre-snap. And so instantly that gets my attention because I want to see, is he making the right read? And bam, he was right there. That youngster had a good camp day today. He put good stuff on film. And I thought it was a great day. All right, we're going to end with this. What really stood out, uh, one other player really stood out because he always does, was Max Crosby. This is your captain. This is his football team. Mark Davis owns it. John Spytek leads it. Pete Carroll coaches it. But make no mistake, this is Max Crosby's team. And here it is, 108, 109, 110 degrees, brutally warm. And, he leads, he wins all the sprints, he does everything. And he was jumping in front of people, taking extra reps. There was one time where, I just kept thinking, wow, that he's just jumping in front of people taking reps because he wants to set the tone. And I'm going somewhere with this. Um, I keep track of this kind of stuff. Today was the most vocal, talking about team chattering and talking I have ever heard a mandatory minicamp practice that I can remember. It started in warm-ups and went the whole time. Cheering, loud, trash talking, encouragement. There was one particular play where I saw Trey Tucker, and I like Trey, everybody knows that, but really being a leader to a young defensive back. And but so much chatter, so much talking, so much exuberance, so much fire. And Pete Carroll came in here a couple of weeks ago and said, we always want to compete. And to his credit, they are. Today was a big day in Raider Nation. A lot of good work got done, and those guys, maximum effort, absolute maximum effort. It was very impressive. So there you go. Day one. And you know what? We're not making more of it than what it is. There's no pads. That's why I'm not giving into a ton of talk about linemen. We're going to find that out at mini camp in about 6 weeks. But it was a very productive mandatory mini camp day. Thanks, everybody. See you tomorrow with day 2 observations.